Hello and welcome back to the Fireside Writing Advice streams. I am your host, Raymond McNeil, and with me, as always, is the immortal Mollie Hatmaster. Mollie, how are you doing today?
I like hats.
What?
Said I like hats. Also, I don't have a microphone, so prepare it for me to be crunched to hell and back. Sorry, guys.
Yes. And today we have quite a... my brain got stuck on that. All right, there we go. So yes, today we are doing... we have quite a few things slated up. Mostly just reviewing your submissions. And we're excited to see them. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 submissions today. A lot of familiar faces. Liking to see it. And on top of that, we have one from last week that I missed because messages, I wasn't checking my messages at some point. I did check this one, but I checked it on my phone, so I forgot the notification, so I didn't copy and paste it where I normally do, and basically just, I accidentally left it behind. So, that was on me, and I apologize for that a lot. But we'll wait for people to kind of funnel on in here, and any, should we talk about the Ruby episode a little bit? Kind of pad the time just a bit?
Well, that seems to happen anyway. I liked it. That's rare for me. I really liked it. I like it when things happen and the heroes actually get challenged and their stupid plan has stupid results. I love it.
What do you think's gonna happen in the winter?
You know what I want to happen. It probably won't, but
I mean,
the hope is she dies fighting Ironwood. Like, beats Ironwood, but, like, she's too injured or whatever. I think that would be a good ending for her character, that she dies, fighting against the person who kept her down or whatever. I don't know.
People are saying, oh, no, she's gonna make it. I'm like, I don't know what the purpose her character has after this point.
Like, that's never stopped them before.
Yeah, I think it's like maybe she'll become the leader of Atlas after that, like the Atlas evacuees. But like, I don't know, man.
I don't know. You know what? I think I need more hats. Hold on.
Yes, I'm in the chat for once. I've risen from my coma for this stream. Those are lots of hats there, Mollie. Yes, she has a lot of hats. She's getting more. So what is the story behind all the hats on Mollie? She likes hats. Let's see. I'm just waiting for everyone other than Juniper to die. I don't think everyone's going to die. Most people are going to die. I expect that. Is Mollie going to do a bit where she wears a hat for every submission? No, she's going to wear 2 hats for every submission. That was her shtick.
So, what's the story behind all the hats? If you want to know, I could go through all these hats. Let's see. This one was a gift from Sarah. This one I ordered online after a Super Bowl sale. It's Ripper Dogs. Oh, this one I got at a Goodwill. This one I got in Tangier Island, Virginia. This one is just a Cubs hat that I got at Wrigley Field. This is a Rayquaza hat. This is another hat from Sarah. This is, I don't know where we got this. This one I found, like, just on the ground somewhere. I believe it's a Nevada State, or University of Nevada. This one was also a gift from Sarah. It's the Worcester Railers hockey team.
I feel like as you're just going down, it would just be more and more. Oh, this hat's from Sarah. This hat's from Sarah. This hat's from Sarah.
This one I got online. It's the Durham Bulls. And this one I got in Cooperstown. So that's the story of all the hats I was wearing.
Winter and Ironwood's fight.
And yes, I am taking a page out of TF2's book. I'm the most OP TF2 character.
I want your hat. It's like, oh no, I don't have any more Pokemon left, and I'm all out of money. Maybe I could pay you some other way. Give me your hat. I love that.
Sarah messaged me, like, Sarah DM'd me. I love your hat, Mountain. All right, I'm actually going to wear just this one for the stream.
Winter and Ironwood fight finishes with them crossing over into the portal realm. Winter wins and falls into the void like Yang. Every sister must fall into the void. That is the new rule. It is the void of sisters.
No older sisters allowed.
Mollie's gonna have some real neck going on this stream's done. What?
I think they're saying, like, might have a really strong neck afterwards.
Oh, yeah. Oh, girlfriend in chat.
I love how Lupa responded with the frog emote. By the way, so because I'm at home, that means we have the return of Minnie Marn. There she is. She'll be joining us today.
Do you also have Tiny Weiss? Is Tiny Weiss also still there?
I don't have Tiny Weiss with me. She's back at school.
Ah, so like they live in different places now. Like, you know.
They do. I keep them apart.
They fighting? Was there a fight between them?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, that's a shame.
The girls are fighting.
Yang gets jodied by Sun. Clarify, what do you mean by jodied? I think I understand the implication there, but I don't know the term jodied. Do you know the term jodied?
I don't know it.
I mean, it's a reference to something. All the same, it's good to see you all here. If you guys want, I would really appreciate if you guys share this link around, let people know about the writing advice streams. We love to see more people here in chat, new people and the like. But this is first thing we're going to do is that we're going to cover one particular piece that I missed last week, which is a secret story written by William Wimser, also known as Frontier. And I apologize to him personally, but it all the same, this is on me for missing it. So here we go. Zack practically buzzed with excitement as he followed Master Templeton through the Citadel. He had never been inside before, as aspirants were forbidden to go further than the main gates. To try was to court disgrace, expulsion, or worse if the rumors were to be believed. Only those to be taken as full members of the Mancer Order were permitted to enter and walk within. It was the last and greatest hurdle that stood between aspirant and ascended. The last obstacle in the long path of hard lessons and grueling trials. Many failed in the first steps, and few ever made it here to the very end. Zack took no small pride in standing among the few. Far Master Templeton led him through the ancient passages, silent save for the echo of their footsteps. Neither of them spoke, Zack finding the thought of doing so almost blasphemous. This was a place far removed from such petty things, the very air heavy with the weight of history. It boggled Zack's mind, thinking of the people who had come before. Cavilia Farstrider, Islington Smith, the Nameless Three, Petrith the Great, first of the Mancer Order. Each a legend, each one no more than an aspirant treading the very ground Zack now tread. Had they wandered after all those who had come before them?
Wondered.
Would others one day think of Zack in much the same way? The thought was both terrifying and exciting. At the very end of the hall there sat a large door, many times smaller than a man, and twice again as wide. A dim, ghostly glow illuminated its surface, just enough to reveal the complex machinery that held it shut. A lock that only the knowledge of a Mancer could ever hope to unseal. They stood mere feet from the very heart of the Mancer Order. Zack could scarcely believe it. Zack was so distracted, in fact, that he almost ran into Master Templeton when the old man suddenly stopped. He turned to face his student, with a look that was strange to Zack's eyes. The familiar sage calm he knew well, but it fought something else for control, something darker. Master? Zack asked. What?
I'm laughing at chat. Car trying to get into the submission late.
Freaking cars.
Hey, I'm streaming here. I'm streaming here.
Master? Zack
Sorry,
asked,
go on.
flinching at the echo he produced. Is something wrong? Templeton shook his head. No, nothing is wrong. Even Zach could tell the man is lying. A fact Templeton immediately picked up on as his expression dissolved into an embarrassed smile. I'm sorry, Zachariah. Your old mast is just worried. You don't think I'm ready? The thought terrified Zach. No, you're more than ready. The smile became warm. You've been ready for a long while now. I don't understand. Is this part of the initiation? His master took a long, even breath, steadying himself before he continued. Zachariah, do you understand what is about to happen? I'm being inducted, made an ascendant of the Mancers. Yes, you are, but do you really understand what that means? Zach raised an eyebrow, confused by the question. Templeton gestured at the portal before them. When you walk through that door, the man that enters will not be the same one that returns. Templeton began to pace, talking as much to himself as Zach. Within lies things, secrets, from which you will never be free, and that you will carry for the rest of your life. And it will not be an easy life. Hardship will haunt your every step, drawn by those secrets. His master stopped pacing, placing a hand on Zach's shoulder. So I ask again, are you ready for what awaits you? Zach met the look with his own. He bubbled with emotions, confusion, irritation, conviction, and deep anxiety of uncertainty. The question seemed so patently simple that Zach almost doubted his own answer when he gave it. I am. For a long moment, Master Templeton said nothing. Considering his student with a look that filled Zach with cold dread, had he failed some final secret test? Had he come this far only to trip at the finish line with two simple words? He was still dwelling on the terrifying possibility when his master Templeton gave him a small smile. Of course, he said. Forgive an old man for his tottering. He turned back towards the door, gesturing for Zach to follow. Come, the future awaits.
I feel like William's submissions are getting like more and more cryptic, and I actually like it. Like there's so much talk of like old cults and you know, kind of ancient things.
William, if you're in the chat,
it's interesting.
Related to that desert story that you keep writing? Because like that would be really great if like your nomad story tied in with this. Like you have like this whole little universe spiraling out of control. I think you have some real gift here. Now I have a few things that I was kind of critical of. First, like, was Old Mast intentional when he said like this right here? I'm sorry, Zachariah. Your old mast is just worried. Like looks like a typo. Also, no space between the ellipses and worried. Come on, man. Come on, you're better than this.
I love how much of like a specific thing that is for you.
It is. It just annoys me because it's like you're trying to combine words, but that's not how that works. You're trying to separate the words. Like when you have an ellipses, it's a deliberate pause. It's a
the WEU, the William Extended Universe.
Oh, but the so that was one, and then the other one is like when he asked Zachariah, "Do you understand what's about to happen?" And it's like, "Oh, there are these very vague things that I can't tell you about, but are you sure you know what you're about to happen?" It's like, no, of course he doesn't. Why are you asking that? Of course he doesn't know what's about to happen. Everyone's talking in vagaries about this. Apparently, no one knows what's about to happen. Like, I don't. That's kind of like something that just kind of like nitpicked me in my brain. Surprisingly, no, this is new. Also, shame on me. Yes, shame on you. Shame.
Don't be mean.
I'm kidding.
I mean, I guess that's the point of this.
We are so nice to William. We are so goddamn nice to William. Like I doubt we could say like anything harsh enough to dismiss the praise that we've given him. The man could start writing 50 Shades of Grey for all I care, and I would still be praising him.
Yeah.
And Mast is a typo.
Mast is a typo, okay.
Yeah, I thought so. All right, but now let's actually
I feel small amongst everyone's submissions. Hey, no need to feel small. We give all these a fair chance.
Yes. And
except the ones that we don't give a fair chance.
Well, the one Mollie doesn't have a fair chance. She's the one that tries to eviscerate things. Yes, I am shoving
Rude.
all the vitriol that should be aimed at me off on her. No, I'm kidding. If masked wasn't a typo, we have misunderstood the nature of this ritual. Exactly. That's why I was concerned. What writing advice are we doing? Well, we actually just covered last week's writing advice, which was talking about secrets. But like that was because there was a submission that I missed due to a technical error. Error. Brain.
Error.
I can't speak today. But we're going into...
You are an anonymous otter on this.
I am an anonymous otter. You are an anonymous hippo, I think. You are an anonymous hippo.
Yay!
You are one of the deadliest creatures on the planet. No
Yeah.
lie. I've been. What is it? Is it Hood Facts or Hood? It's like Hood Zoo, Hood Animal. I can't remember. It's this guy on TikTok and he puts it on YouTube, obviously, in these compilations. But it's this guy describing like animals and creatures just like in ways that are very, I mean, Hood. I can't really put it any better than his namesake. It's like just very like frank and like, man, elephants be disrespectful, man, or hippos be disrespectful, man. They will gat you on the first. I can't replicate his language. The man has. The problem with him is like he repeats a lot of the same phrases with a lot of different things, so he gets kind of repetitive at times. But the man typically has a lot of zingers that are really creative. Let me make sure, double check. It's Hood Nature. Look him up. He's actually really funny. But do you want to take this one?
All right, let's get on to Poncho's submission. Let's get on to the main meat of the stream, as I say.
Oh, you want to read this one?
Sure. It's Ruby related. Okay. A distinctive high-pitched laugh cut through the air, causing Cinder's yellow eyes to furrow in annoyance. It appeared to be coming from a brush of bushes a little ways away from where they were sitting, and it seemed to be rustling with childish glee. She hadn't seen the children in a while. With a sigh, there should be a comma there. Well, I guess, maybe. She set down her gold-trimmed teacup and got up from the pink and white checkered picnic blanket. Do like the Jessica Negri, like, I'll be back. I don't even know what she does. I'll be back, Cinder said tartly to the lanky carrot-topped man sitting next to her. Sure, go, leave, just like the divorce, came the uncaring reply, trailing off into the air. Shrugging off the colorful comment, Cinder sauntered over to the shrubbery, her bare feet digging into the perfectly kempt? I guess that's the opposite of kept. Or unkempt.
Yeah, that.
The perfectly kempt grass with each step. Getting closer to the quivering bush, she heard it say incredulously, "M, at least try to keep it down." Peering over the undergrowth, her face found... Wait, hold on. She heard it say incredulously? So the bush is talking. Okay. Peering over the undergrowth, her face found its way back to an expression of bored disappointment as she saw three figures huddled over what seemed to be a bright orange teapot. Some small movement could be seen in the grass next to it. As her presence was made known, three pairs of eyes looked back at her, one blood red, one a set of brown and pink, and the last silver. No blue. It's silver, comma, no blue. I think there should be another comma there, or else that reads like an anime title.
Last silver, no blue.
And the last comma, silver... Like I would do a comma after all three of those words. Last, silver, no, blue. Or maybe ellipses? I'm nitpicking. Gray? She never could tell. Anyway, this was like a pet peeve of my English teacher in high school. It's not anyways, it's anyway. And my mom gets really mad at that too, so I'm going to get mad at that. Her disappointment immeasurable, and her day possibly ruined. My disappointment is immeasurable and my day is ruined. She asked what they were doing. Nice voice crack, Molly. Good work. Well, we were going to put ants into this teapot and tell you guys it was some fancy Atlasian tea we nicked, stuttered the dark crimson-eyed teenager, clearly startled by Cinder's sudden appearance. I think this is Mercury.
No, she.
But you may as well name.
No, this was
crimson-eyed teenager.
Because Emerald has red eyes.
Emerald's the one with red eyes. Okay.
And she has dark skin.
Oh, I thought you were saying dark crimson, but okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I was thinking that's kind of a redundant way to color. I think that the descriptions are kind of like I know epitaphs are a thing that people use, but you haven't used Emerald's name yet. So like, just say it. Stuttered Emerald, period, or something. Clearly startled by Cinder's sudden appearance. This is very like a wordy writing style.
Yeah. Also,
this is also like nitpicking, but every time someone speaks, I will usually put like a space bar just to keep these blocks of text from getting too big. Because a lot of writing is just kind of making the text look pretty. Like I don't think people really pay attention to that enough. Like, I'll even tell people writing technical papers, like if I'm in a group project, I'll tell people like, don't write this poorly. Make sure this is easy on the eyes, because a lot of the times it gets hard to read. Like when you use the same word over and over, use too many words, the eye doesn't follow it well.
The reason why a lot of people complain about Faulkner is that the man writes in paragraph-long sentences sometimes, and like it gets tiring to the eye because you're just like, the less work you have to do in order to track where you are on a page, the easier it is. And that's why like breaking it up into like sentence-long sentence-long paragraphs as opposed to paragraph-long sentences. Like that's typically, it's nicer on the eyes. The Hemingway method. It's a little bit.
Yeah, keep the descriptions kind of to a minimum. And just give as much information as we need to know what's going on. You don't need it to be like
until you're
the dark crimson-eyed teenager.
Yeah. Like there is a point where like Faulkner had a style. Like he was going for something with his incredibly ridiculous writing style. He was going for something with it. But that's something that you have to reach as an experienced writer. It's not something you can just like do right out of the gate, and it's clearly not intentional here. So a little bit of break apart, I think, would have definitely done this a little bit better.
Yeah. That being said, let's keep going. Where were we? Cinder pinched the bridge of her nose in frustration. Emerald, even if that was a good plan, what made you think I would fall for it? The young girl seemed to shrivel in response. Mupa is having seems to be having a time with your mention of Faulkner. Roman might, and we were going to use M's and Neo semblances to make it look like tea, interjected the tall, gray-haired boy with unknown color. Like, just say Mercury.
Yeah,
just call him Mercury.
Like, the epitaphs work once, basically. Like, where you describe a character that's in the scene and they know each other, like, we know who they're talking about. You're not trying to introduce a new character to us, and you're not trying to get a little more information about them that this character doesn't know. No, they all know who Mercury is. Just use his name. It's fine. Don't be afraid of that.
Yeah. Don't be afraid of it. Better, Mercury, said Cinder with dry approval, giving him a little pat on the head, causing Emerald to pout in anger and Mercury to recoil in disgust. There's also just kind of nicer ways to say that, like, said Cinder with dry approval, period. She gave him a pat on the head, like, and how would I say this? She gave him a little pat on the head. In response, Mercury recoiled in disgust and Emerald pouted in anger. Something like that.
The palm of her hand brushed...
It could have been done nicer.
The palm of her hand bopped against his hair.
Yeah, it's written a little dry. Like, it's very matter-of-fact in its writing.
Yeah.
They're saying that your voice is a little quiet. I personally think if I don't talk louder than everybody else in the room, how will people know I'm from New York?
Yeah, I saw that. I turned myself up a little bit just to make sure, but I'm gonna do it just a little bit more. Testing 1, 2, 3. I think okay. This should be good. This should be good. Hopefully.
Still, Neo, why did you agree to this? I expected more. I expected, more, out of you. There's no commas in that.
Yeah.
Cinder asked the diminutive girl, staring at the teapot as if she had ever seen anything like it before.
Pancho, you're giving us a lot of pauses here.
Yeah.
And like,
I'm also trying to keep up with chat.
No, I've got chat. You keep reading.
Okay. This is why we're a team, guys. I would have thought you would plan to drop a boulder on us at least. The little girl snapped out of her trance. Do not call Neo a little girl. I know she's short. She's also a grown adult.
Well, do we know she's an adult? We don't know her age. Like, for all we know, she's a teenager like the rest
trance
of them.
And gesticulated wildly with her hands extended outwards, as if to say, "That's what I said." I know even if she's a teenager, don't call her a little girl. Like, that's just kind of rude. Cinder had suppressed a wry smile at that.
Smaller girl might be appropriate. And also,
smaller girl, yeah.
The fact that she's articulating thought, trying to convey things, that would probably warrant its own paragraph. Because remember, anytime someone speaks, new paragraph, and that kind of applies to anyone talking silently. Like, if they're just gesticulating and trying to say something like that, you would want that to be like an actual new paragraph to kind of distinguish that from everyone else's.
And before she could formulate an answer, Mercury interrupted again, seemingly recovered from the head pat. We promised to give her the teapot if she did. Neo flushed strawberry red, and Cinder merely looked at her, making sure that her face remained neutral, but barely being able to contain a laugh. Neo gave an exaggerated shrug, not knowing of any such transaction, and looked away in a huff. Well, Cinder said, there should be a comma, looking over to where Roman was sitting, checking to see if he had noticed what's going on. He seemed to be singing, using his cane as a microphone. If you're quick about it, you could pull it off. The trio sat and stared at her. Go on now, beat it, she said with a shooting motion. Neo and Mercury jumped to their feet, Neo quickly snatching up the teapot as they went. She put on her most innocent grin and held the teapot high over her head. Mercury sang out, Oh, Roman, I guess that's what that was conveying, as they practically skipped back to the picnic basket. Cinder held Emerald back as she tried to leave. It was an all-right plan. There should be a comma. Emerald, just try to keep that laugh in check. I could hear it across the park. Emerald's eyes shone with glee, and the beginnings of a laugh squeaked out before she clasped her hands over her mouth and stammered, muffled, right, ma'am, before she ran off, head bowed and a red glow creeping up the back of her neck. Alone now, Cinder allowed herself a small smile and a contented sigh. Looking up at the night sky, she saw the silhouette of a gargantuan whale breach the cloud line, barely visible in its sea of inky black void. Unperturbed by this, she meandered back to the group, making sure to casually trample on the grass as she went. The city of Atlas, once bustling with life, now an empty husk, its people chased away like rats, and their only abandoned belongings remain as its final remnants of life. Cinder could think of no better place to have tea.
No, Ruby Chibi.
No, Ruby Chibi is the true Ruby canon. Okay.
So this is all Ruby Chibi. That's key.
Cinder gently, Ada. She.
Ada.
Thanks, Insane Oddball.
Oh, this one comes with a picture.
It does.
Next one, yeah. Anime AK got a picture from somewhere. I
Very nice.
Don't know where you got that from, man. It's a good choice. Neo's best girl. She finally killed one of the bastards of Ruby. Actually, hey Celtic, do you think that you think Artie stole your Yang assassination attempt, but went through with it? Wow, my voice cracked right there. No, they did not go through with it. Yang's not dead. If you think Yang is dead, you're played. You're played hard.
You have been played. Neo's not a little girl. She's just small. Like yeah, that's a thing. Is when like she might be like 4'5", 4'8", whatever. She's also 17 or whatever, however old she is.
Yeah.
Treat her with the same respect as you treat the other characters. Her being tiny and mute doesn't make her like a baby.
But she is at perfect head padding height. So, I mean, I can understand that. Yeah, remember, if you think that Yang is dead, you are not just a clown. You are the entire circus.
Thank you, Edgeworth.
Okay. God, the dialogue in those games are so good.
I don't know if that one's real, but I think the real quote in that case that's actually that insane is, "This testimony is as like phony as the clown car he drove it on."
Please treat short people with respect in general. Password, so none. Screw you, Password. I'm short. Rooster, they're not even trying to kill off Ruby characters. No, they're not. Also, hi. Oh, Star did make it. Star. Hey.
Hi, Star. Yeah.
You lied to me. I'm kidding.
Yang is alive as this stream. Anyway,
so,
let's read Anime AK.
With only 30 people watching. Sounds about right. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
We love you guys. Yes. So, this is by Anime AK116. And let's go for it. Dear younger me, Anarini Mountains, Thrice Kingdom, Thriss Kingdom, Pick-inick 34th, Year 12, Second Dynasty, after the first founding. That is a mouthful of really awkward words to pronounce. Word of advice. I mean, these aren't bad in of themselves, but I'm just going to give you word of advice. Fantasy words do not need to be hard to pronounce. In fact, I would argue making them very easy to pronounce is kind of important. Like, you don't have any problem saying Aragorn. That's a very easy name to pronounce. Legolas is all right. Gimli, like, there are some combinations of words. So, Anarini is fine, but Thrice, people are not going to know how to pronounce that. Fernick, like, you got to basically kind of cut down how people are going to pronounce things. You got to figure out how to pinpoint that. But okay, these not that's a nitpick. So take that with a grain of salt. Dunar slept soundly under the shade of Akko trees as the 5-star leaves swayed in the winds. His helmet didn't move an inch, not even as his makeshift pillow moved to keep the blood flowing in its legs.
Ain't Akko that kid from Little Witch Academia?
Wrong Akko! The sound of children screaming and laughing could be heard in the distance, carried by the vast empty plains in front of his position. Okay, you're doing the comma thing. This is. It's a comma. I wouldn't have thought something like this would happen. So many suitors walked away when they spotted me. Dunar chuckled a little. We both would have ended up trying to drown our sorrows, or in your case, in a throne room drowning in wine. Belizabeth? Belizeth?
Belizabeth. Belizeth, yeah.
Bill. I am pronouncing that Bill. And if that doesn't emphasize what I said about the word about names, it should. His eyes opened to a woman.
There's
what?
I think Josh is right. There is, like, making up these fantasy words and names is an art form in itself. Personally, my favorite form of naming characters in a fantasy setting is to do the thing where they all have these, like, vaguely old-fashioned names, except, like, 5 of them who just have people names.
That is fun. Well, actually, a good example, I mean, going back to the Lord of the Rings as an example, you have a lot of different places that have very fancy names. Like, Mount Doom isn't just called Mount Doom. That's a translation, I think, by the characters, or it's a nickname for the place. It's not actually the name of the mountain. But you go to Mount Doom because it's a terrifying place. They call it Mount Doom for a reason. And, like, it's just because it's easier to say than the actual name.
All right, let's
Probably
keep
should have
going.
placed pronunciations for those. That actually gets annoying. I would recommend going back to the drawing board on the names altogether, but that's just me. Bilizeth. His eyes opened to a woman with pale complexion to her skin. Her arctic blue eyes looked to the children in the plains. Though her smile was like a treasure. Her dress was, for lack of a better term, just as white as her skin and hair. I guess, comma, lowercase h?
I guess.
But, like, I don't know how, like, those typically meant for, like, two contradicting points. Like, though she was muddy and dirty, she still shined radiantly with her smile. Like, that's the kind of thing that you have with though. Though her smile was like a treasure, her dress was, for lack of a better term, just as white as her skin and hair. Those are two not contradictory things. They don't. It's not like you're trying to put two contradictory things back to back to make comparison. You're not. It's just a thing. It'd be more like her smile was like a treasure, and her dress was, for lack of a better term, just as white as her skin and hair. Like, that's probably what you want to go for. Oh, really, Dunar? Last I checked, I didn't carry around 7 flasks, she cheekily replied. Please, you know I only drink for the flavor. And I with my wine, though that didn't stop you from stop your pursuit of my hand, despite me inheriting my mother's Jadsi's looks. My mother Jadsi's. Yeah, my mother Jadsi. Jadis. Inheriting my mother Jadis's looks. Quick shortcut for writing. And I know some people disagree with this. It's a very, very debated upon subject. I'm on the side that you don't need an extra S after an apostrophe when you have a proper name with an S. So this right here is correct.
I switch.
It is still pronounced as though it's Jadis's. It's weird. But it's a cool quirk of the English language. She then looked down to see his eyes, her smile not wavering. What can I say? You and I have a lot in common. Though those bastards will walked out on you didn't know what they lost. Yes, though then again, were it not for my beauty, I wouldn't have caught your eyes that fateful day. He chuckles while he sits up, while she changes her seating position. Don't use while like that. He chuckles, sitting up, while she changed her seating position. That's how you would probably phrase that. His eyes then looked at all of the 5 children in the field. One or the other. It's either his eyes looked at all the children in the field, or his eyes looked at the 5 children in the field. I would recommend cutting one of those 2 out. They all had their mother's pale complexion, yet they had his light brown eyes as well. You know, despite having so many, you never showed favoritism to any of them, any one of them. I'm their father. I'm supposed to love them all of them equally. Not many would see it through your eyes. Well, I was raised differently as a bounty hunter than that of royalty. She couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle that sounded like an angel that came down from the heavens. Father still thinks you should resume those etiquette classes rather than speak with a commoner's loose tongue. Nope. After all, how are my targets supposed to know what their charges are if I spoke high speech? She could help herself and slap his arm playfully. She couldn't help herself. It means you impulsively do something. Oh no, the terror of having to learn to talk respectfully to other rulers, she replied, feigning the dread of a possible decline in the geopolitical reputation sphere.
I think that's kind of implied by the dialogue.
Yeah. And also kind of like wordy for like what you've had in the description thus far. Kind of beats you over the head with it all of a sudden. My bad, Jadis. Her name is Jadis. Okay, got it. You know me so well, but in that case...
I've been saying Yadis.
Yadis. I mean, that'd be a cool pronunciation for it. I'm just saying. You know me so well, but in any case now that I'm awake and not hunting another criminal, what was it you wanted to show me? Probably more, but now in any case, now that I'm awake and not hunting another criminal, comma, what was it you wanted to show me? He asked. Lowercase. She lifts up her hand and something changes. Her pupils widen and her hand moves in a circle, leaving behind ice floating in the air, which caught Duner's eye a little with interest as she started to make an artificial snowflake. Nope, comma, lowercase. Caught Duner's eye either a little or with interest. One or the other nicks the other. There's no strike-through option. Strike-through would be so handy. Where is it? Is this strike-through? That's clear formatting. A design was intricate as she made the crystalline water move and take form, as if making the water viper change in the air and exciting the molecules to become what she willed it to be. Again, you're doing this comma thing. Like
I mean, the thing is, he wants shorter sentences. But, like, if you want shorter sentences, find a way to write more concisely. Don't just randomly cut your run-on sentences.
Because, like, they're not distinct clauses. They're dependent clauses. Like, they depend on... Two different sentences are two different clauses. When you separate something with a comma, it becomes two separate clauses, but they're codependent. They rely on one another. And that's what you're writing here. You're writing things that are like, the next sentence you're writing in this format is dependent on the last sentence for all the context provided by the second sentence, or for the second sentence. Like, you got to link those two in a way that makes it very clear that these two are interdependent. These are not interdependent. When you have it here, it's like as if making the water viper change in the air and exciting the molecules to become what she willed it to be. Like, as if making is describing the process described, or it's referring to the process described in the previous sentence. But it's not connected to that sentence. It is a separate clause from that sentence. It's very... I don't know how to describe this. I really wish at this point I could be more technical with it, but I can't. Yeah.
I think basically what you're trying to say to slow it down is, if you're going to describe something that's based on the last thing you wrote, just put in a comma.
Yeah, just put in a comma, man. Master Decoy, fuck yes, based Raymond, red pilled on the S apostrophe conundrum. Good man, good man. Manipulating nature itself, yet there was a limit to this. Dunor began to notice his wife start to become strained, but she pressed on until the ice in front of her took the shape of their family. Though once she was finished, she collapsed in exhaustion into his arms, and just as quickly as she made the family portrait out of ice, just as quickly as she made the family portrait out of ice, comma, it just as quickly melted, though he wasn't concerned about the family portrait his wife had created in the air. So let's use an example. So you got it right the first time here. Though once she was finished, she collapsed in exhaustion into his arms, comma, and just as quickly as she made their family portrait out of ice. Now you get it wrong where you put a period. No, you want a comma here. It just as quickly melted. What you should do if you wanted to fix this run-on sentence, period here. He wasn't concerned about the family portrait his wife's gift had created in the air. And maybe then add, he was more worried about her. That solves the problem that I think you're struggling with. Like, you got to figure out where to parse things out. It's A little tricky, but you can get the hang of it. Now, overall, the story so far has been better than a lot of your other stuff. So we're definitely on an uptick here. It was the fact that
he's really relying on this whole like relationship conversation thing.
Well, I mean, that was sort of like the task that we gave them.
I know, but like he really likes these like, you know, a man and a woman talking to each other. That seems to be where he's kind of found his stride.
Yeah.
I just remember a few of his stories being in that.
Oh yeah.
Don't forget to use semicolons.
I'm remembering the.
Ivan says, "Don't forget to use semicolons. Walk before we run." Okay.
During one idea in the sentence ends and another begins, that's generally where to cut. Yes. It was a fact her skin felt too cold to his touch, like it went deep into her flesh and bone. That to perform what she did was causing her to become one with the ice itself. Are you all right? She gives a nod as she breathes deep to calm her sputtering heart. I'm fine, Dunor. It's usually never this draining to use my magic. Usually and never. It's a weird combo there. It's usually not this draining, or never this draining. You kind of need that right there is an unusual phrasing. Only unless I'm pregnant, she replied, her smile never failing. This made his eyes widen with shock. She took notice of this through his shifts in body language. His posture changed so quickly, as if he had just realized he was holding a delicate piece of china.
If you're going to already mention that his body language is changing, you don't need the part that says she noticed his body language changing, or else you're just telling us what you're showing before you show it.
Yeah, like, you don't need to prime us for that. You don't need to be like, his body language will shift. Here's how it shifted. It's just, his body language shifted. Very clean, very elegant, and it helps. You know, you could have told me that without your abilities, he replied with a chuckle. Oh dear, where's the fun in that? Anari Mountains, former Threes Kingdom, Fick-inick 34th, year 3, after the great Magi Coaling. Her imagination of her father's memory stopped as she opened her eyes to the picnic area of her youth. With a gentle sigh, she then lays a bouquet of red roses between the man-made stones with her family's name chiseled onto them. Her skin was albino and with her hair just as cold and Arctic blue as her mother's.
With her eyes just as cold and Arctic blue.
She is the sixth child standing amongst the rest of her family. Her smile, as if forged from the purest gold ever taken from the mines of Ormia. She then walks away in silence, placing her father's helmet over her head, concealing her beauty, though monsters with gray decaying skin and large red maws gathering to reclaim her corpse. Claim her corpse. The senseless never saw her mother's magic and father's weapon work so well together, leaving behind the monsters' bodies to rot in peace.
All right, how many words was that?
Word count.
946.
All right, you kind of went over there, buddy.
Dude. Is it just me, or is the story boring? Or the story is boring? Boring is a very strong word. I don't know if I'm trying to be nicer.
Yeah,
it's been my resolution.
I mean, it's not the story itself. I actually find it quite compelling. The cute concept behind, okay, this lady on a picnic with her family wants to tell her husband that she's pregnant. And to do that, she decides, I'm going to use magic to make a little miniature of a family, and then, like, if it fails, I can easily explain it. Like, that's a really
the story is neat.
It's the prose. That's the problem. And there's a problem with a lot of stories. The prose can kill a good story. But Floof, you just send it to me on Discord. I will grab it. I know you're probably... Let me go check.
Moopa's next. Moopa, did you intend for this all to be one block of text? It's very uncharacteristic of you.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a chunk. mean, I think it looks intentional to me. You can DM submissions directly to Celtic on Discord.
I know she likes to experiment. That's why I'm just making sure.
Yeah, I would just chalk it up to an experiment. Yeah, you can also send me on Twitter.
All right. You know I'm not very good at spinning, Direxus tells Menuhala. It's name day. It's name day, guys. Rupa says, "Oh boy," in all caps. It's not a good sign. Rolling plant fibers against his dolphin tail to make thread, a gentle monotony not unlike the princess working on the loom nearby. Oh my gosh, this is going to be an entire single sentence.
Oh, so that's why you were reacting to Faulkner earlier. Okay. All right, Faulknerina.
All right, getting my hat readjusted for this one. Weaving shuttle clack-clacking as it layers thread upon thread into a slowly growing pattern on top, and Menno tells him she thought he could use the distraction, which Direxos doesn't respond to. Her words a reminder of recent events. His father, Kleisthein, had found his stash of male clothes, learned that he'd been forsaken his given name and title of Lady Nasadora, as well as sneaking out of the harem.
Mollie froze.
Hi.
You all right?
Makes sense. From the town market, Kleisthein ripped and distributed among the slaves.
She's freezing again.
Spam. Oh no, I lost my plate.
Yeah, you froze twice in the middle. Anyway. I'm so sorry. Go back up to his father Kleisthein. Just start from there.
Okay. His father Kleisthein had found his stash of male clothes, learned that he'd been forsaken his given name and title of Lady Nasadora, as well as sneaking out of the harem. And Kleisthein gave Direxos the unlashing of his life. The clothes Direxos had servants buy from the town market, Kleisthein ripped and distributed among the slaves. He left Direxos. I'm laughing at Flute. That's Mollie's semblance. It's freezing. I'm not laughing at this. I promise you I'm not laughing at this. Deep breath. Deep breath. Whispers from the other harem residents now following everywhere. The accompanying pilot fish around Direxos become agitated, sensing their master's mood as he thanks Menno so kindly for reminding him and congratulating the effectiveness of her plan. And he nearly rips the twisting thread in half, allowing the fibers to spread too thin, which Menno comments on. But like he's said, he's not good at this stuff anyways. She's the one with all the cloth-making talent who also manages to get away with all the rule-breaking she does, but Leviathans forbid he go by a different name than the one his father gave. So why oh why she asks him of all people to spin when she could have asked a servant or bought thread. Her weaving shuttle loops back and forth as she doesn't answer, shimmering green and gold fabric making geometric shapes. Colors distracting and attracting fish. Before Direxo speaks again, she answers that she needed to keep him in her sight to make sure it all matched. What matches? The color with his skin tone and eyes, the pattern with the natural markings on his tail, the size with his particular flame. Right. What is the chat doing? And he flushes deep. He's cute when he blushes. He hopes Nico doesn't hear her say that, but she declares that Nico agrees with her. That was impressive.
That was... I have no words. That's insane.
People are nagging me about my internet connection. Guys, I can't do anything about this.
Wow, Mollie froze twice a sentence. That's a new record. That's...
Sorry. I'm sorry.
In hindsight, probably should have just cut the scene change. Yeah, you could have probably done without that epilogue. Also, I mean, it added, like, angst, and that's not what we were looking for, really.
I even wrote in Hebrew. I'm trying to pronounce it in my head, but there's no vowels. So, and it's not a familiar word, so I don't actually know what he wrote.
It's like the prog rock of sentences. I'll go for this now. This is my first time watching this type of stream, and I enjoyed it. I hope you guys have fun. Oh, okay. See you, Vicha.
Thank you, V.
Biggest
The
challenge.
biggest challenge was keeping everything coherent as it followed. I mean, I followed what was going on. Like, I get what's happening. That's why I was impressed. I thought I would totally lose my place.
Yeah, but
The frog rock of sentences.
yeah, anime AK, everything that we said, don't try this yet. You're not there. Just putting that out there. Be careful. Baby steps. Baby steps. I'd rather put up with periods and, like, you gradually learning the commas. Which we'll get there, buddy. We'll get there. Don't worry. All right.
I can see the indent left on my head from the hat, so I'm just going to keep the hat on for the rest of the stream.
I can't see it, so I mean, I'm really tempted because, like, I have a whole thing. I don't know if you remember my stream with Fat Man for Doki Doki Literature Club, where I read something insanely fast, and I wonder if I could do that here, but I don't want to, like, burn myself out.
I think I would tire myself out if I tried that. Mupo,
right.
we love your foray into breaking the English language, as always.
If I do this, no. Is there something that I can? Oh. Can I hide comments? Tools. Star, in your desire to limit the word count, you have ended up uncentering it. Oh, wait, suggesting. Okay, viewing. Perfect.
I wanted to keep the interaction casual, but I was having a hard time coming up with a story without some kind of conflict. I mean, casual dialogue can have conflict. They're talking about something casually. They're talking about
freezing again. You're back.
I said they're talking about a conflict casually.
Tan lane from her hat, yes. All right, so this is from Star, which is about Clover and Mayumi. Wait, Clover as in Clover, or Clover as in your own unique character, Clover? Sorry about the slight angst. I wanted to keep the interaction casual, but I was having a hard time coming up with a story about some kind of conflict. Without some kind of conflict. Yeah, no, I get that. And that's kind of part of the challenge. It's like just casual conversation is really hard to generate, because, like, keeping it interesting and engaging, it's interesting to the characters. Casual conversation is interesting to the characters, but we need to be involved with the characters to it's a challenge of really pushing you to be personal with the characters. Also, you are an anonymous Ifrit.
You're an anonymous fox.
Hot damn. Floof, pet my tail.
And shout Star. She loves foxes. Yeah, that's what I was. It was It is her OC Clover that she made before Clover the Ruby character.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right, let's get to it.
Yep. A book lays on the table in front of Mayumi as she struggles to read it. Her mind feels as though it's full of insects, buzzing around as much as a hornet's nest. The first few minutes, you could probably cut, like, her mind feels... I don't know, I guess, you know, the full of insects and then buzzing with a hornet's nest feels like you could just shore that up into just that hornet's nest, but, you know, nitpick there. The first few minutes of the chapter had been okay, but as she continued on, the words began to run together as if someone had spilled juice all over the page, or written in a single long sentence. I'm kidding. It was from her... It was from her dust use and augmentation class, which Mayumi didn't understand at all. She knew that dust could be used in weapons. Professor Ivan had told her all about his mad genius in that very application of it. But that was back in Chaos, when she herself hadn't had to understand how to do it herself. Back in Chaos, she shuts her book and leans back to think about the group. what the others were doing at this very moment. Oh, she was sure Ivan was being rather patient. Most others would be anxious, waiting for the information Pixie and Narcissa were going to bring, but not Ivan. The professor was always calm. Nothing riled him. Resting her chin on her hands, Mayumi sighs softly and thinks about how happy he will be when they return. Maybe he'd even laugh. He rarely ever did so. Drifting on daydreams of Ivan's laugh and level head, she didn't notice Clover approaching her from behind until he tapped her on the shoulder. "Hey, Mayumi?" Clover asked. Mayumi jumps, gripping the hilt of her sword with fright. "Clover, don't surprise me like that," she yelps. Clover chuckles and holds his hands up in surrender. "Relax, just me. I just noticed that you seem to have given up on your reading for dust augmentation and was wondering if you needed some help. I finished mine yesterday, so I can gladly help you with yours," he explains. He pulls out a chair and sits down next to her, reopening her book to the proper chapter. "Here, I've noticed you've been having problems paying attention in class and keeping your mind in your books. Let's see if we can make this more interesting so that it holds your attention, and you can actually remember what you're reading," he offers. "The words all run together like watercolor paint," she sighs, looking away with a pout. "And this textbook is boring. Speaking of paint, I've started running out. I should go get some," she murmurs, her mind drifting to the clouds again. Clover gives her shoulder a quick shake. "Mayumi, back to the present," he says sternly. "Do you like painting?" He asks after some consideration. Yes. Oh, I love watercolors. Acrylics are okay, but watercolors are so pretty. Oh, and drawing. I love drawing people," she says smoothly. "This was much better than dust already. What else do you like? I saw you against that King Taijitsu. You seem to be pretty good at fighting."
Taijitsu, I think it's pronounced.
Taijitsu. Do you like that? He asked. Mayumi paused, glancing up at the ceiling. She supposed she enjoyed fighting. It was fun. Space after ellipses! As long as it was grim. Especially afterwards, when the grim was killed and she was praised for her hard work. Not as fun as painting, but fun in its own right. "Yes, I do like fighting, especially grim," she chirps. Clover nods slowly. His expression is one of serious thought, like a brooding owl. Or a lizard. He smelled an awful lot like a lizard, so she supposed that comparison was much more proper. Do you use dust when fighting?" Mamie frowns and crosses her arms. Of course, it was all a ruse. He was just trying to get her back to schoolwork in dust. Here she was, thinking he was saving her from it, but of course it was just a trap. "Yes, I do. Mostly just the gravity dust in my swords. Pixie uses it much more than I do," Mamie replied with a growl. "Well, how does Pixie use it?" "She uses it in her weapons, and with her semblance, and sometimes she puts it in her clothes," Mayumi explains. "Hey, add injected into the skin, and you've got all your basic ways people can use dust. That's what Professor Dimitri wants you to memorize for the quiz," Clover explains tentatively. Mayumi's betrayal slides away like water off her back, and then scoots closer, looking up with her wide eyes. "Really? That's it?" "Yeah, that's all the textbook is really telling you. They just take longer to do it." "Huh, well, I think the authors of this textbook need to learn a thing or two about the art of being concise," Mayumi said with a tight scowl. Clover chuckles, and to this, Mayumi glances at him with surprise. "What are you laughing at?" "You." Bewildered, Mayumi stares at him. She frantically glances down at herself, suddenly worried that perhaps she had something odd stuck to her somewhere. She pats her blouse, staring at her skirt. "What are you doing?" he asks with a cocked brow. "Well, is there something on me? You were laughing at me," she cries defensively. Clover chuckles, which sends Mayumi spiraling further into confusion. "No, I was laughing because you said something funny. There's nothing wrong with what you're wearing," he says calmly. Not quite trusting him, Mayumi sends him a harsh look. "Really? Are you sure? I don't just have dirt on my shirt, and you aren't. I don't just have dirt on my shirt, and you aren't telling me?" "Yes, I'm quite sure. I promise I'm not pulling your leg." "Well, I know that." Things go really over your head, don't they? Mayumi opens her mouth and lets it hang, a finger held in the air as a signal for surrender. After a pause, she decides against whatever she was about to argue and stares down at her skirt cast. After a pause, she decides against whatever she was about to argue and stares down at her skirt, cast in a deep red blush. You might want a comma there after skirt. A pleasant feeling mixing with embarrassment. He was laughing at her, but it was it was so good humored that it felt strange. I suppose they do. Mayumi laughs, stopping as Clover glances into the space above her head. With a twitch of her nose, she soon realizes that Clover is staring at an approaching Pixie, whose heels are clicking against the hardwood of the library floor. "Oh, you, she cries. With a flurry, she slings her arm over Mayumi's shoulders and wraps her in a tight hug. Eyes of electric energy are locked on Clover with a dark expression flashing jealousy, like a pet left unattended to. Pixie squeezes Mayumi's shoulders, her lush voice bleeding into Mayumi. It wraps its way around her throat like seaweed, squeezing like a serpent.
All right. She wants us to stop there if it was too long, so I'm just going to cut it.
Okay,
there.
that's fair. So far,
that was really good dialogue. My one criticism in your writing style is you have a tendency to use similes,
a lot,
which aren't inherently bad, but keep them to minimum.
Like the thing is, like, similes is just I find it's an overabuse of like. I find just like cutting down straight to the phrase you want to use. So it wraps its seaweed wraps around her throat, squeezing like a constricting serpent. Like, you can just jump right to the imagery, and the reader will be like, wait, that's not actually happening. Oh, that kind of thing clicks a little bit better because you're making them work a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a really good writing style you have, just in general. Like, your way of parsing dialogue information is really good. It's those little things. I this is actually where, again, I would recommend kind of looking into poetry or songwriting. If you want to find ways to describe things that are more off the beaten path, that's kind of where you find them. But that's just, I'm kind of biased towards that. But that's how I learned a lot of how to describe things. Yeah, LOL, I'm trying to work on fixing that. I've heard a lot of people point that out. Yeah, I would try kind of looking into maybe reading poetry or reading, kind of really good songs and just experimenting with ways of describing things. Using rhyme helps because, you're stuck to a certain word bank and you have to figure it out.
And on that note, how would you... to finish up on that, Star, is your similes themselves are actually really good. They're very, very good imagery. So, like... Yeah. If you can just find a way to, like, integrate that more smoothly as opposed to always having, like, it's like this. No. Think in the thought that it is this. Like, Jackson came up to me and threw his arms around my neck. A vice, or I'm trying to think of a good a veritable tree branch choking a veritable tree branch bouncing against my windpipe. Like, you can get that distinct imagery out through just having it be an immediate type feel. But also, Password asked, and on that note, how would you write a code in prose dialogue? Like a 22550. What's 22550? My main idea was going with a couple of guys chatting.
It's a tire code?
Oh, I typically, if it's spoken dialogue, I typically, unless they're over enunciating, then I just write the numbers, or I write out like the flat numbers, like 225 over 50. Something like that. You write it out like that. Sometimes you have people overemphasize things. I remember there was an annoying Halo story that I read at one point that was actually novelizing a part of Halo 2. And this is a real story written by Joseph Staten, the lead writer of Halo, who, after reading this, I started to question the credentials of, because the man wrote out the phonetic pronunciation of all the different weapons and tools being used by the Master Chief, And we're not talking phonetically as in like,
No.
we're not thinking like, the number TWO. Like he would pronounce it like TWUO, like to like overemphasize like how like he was trying to go for like military slang, and it's like it was painful to read as it was like BBR5 or the BR55, like so it's B as in BEE, R as in AR R, like it's really annoying, really annoying. So unless your characters are intentionally doing that to like being very clear, like, S as in socks, R as in reticule, T as in tincture or something like that. They're doing weird stuff like that. Do not ever overemphasize the words.
Dude, open up William's casual dialogue.
Oh no. Oh no. Well, you get to read that one. I can cover this one if you want.
Okay.
So this
Just
is by,
be careful what you wish for, Molly.
this is Paste Ben. I know he has an actual name, but we've decided that his name from now on is Ben the Paste Ben. BBR5 and yeah, that's terrible. So Matthew, why do you think it's called the Devil's Garden? Jesse's voice held more than a hint of skepticism. Well, they said on the night of the new moon, the devil himself walks the earth, and the fires of hell follow. Escaped souls get caught in the melting sands, and they morph into glass flowers. The boy did his best to mythologize it, the way his scout leader taught him to tell campfire stories. He's campfire storytellers. I don't know. I don't know what voice I was going for there. I see. So it's a heat-based metahuman with an artistic streak. What happened? Actually, I honestly don't know who's it. What happened to the passionate, whimsical painter I was dating? He pouted at her. She realized there was no future in art and started studying veterinary science. Fair enough. Maybe this will reignite your creative spark. I'm pretty sure you didn't bring me out here to get me back into watercolors. The boy paused. I don't know. It's right there, Jesse. Watercolors. Getting you wet. I need to workshop. Jesse, you're too mature for that. Don't let him see you smiling. Don't let him see you smiling. Don't let him see you smiling. Well, maybe I'm not the only one growing up. He pulled her close, squishing his cheek against hers. Hold me, Jesse. He quavered for dramatic effect. I think you mean quivered.
That's a word. I've seen that.
I've never seen that. Interesting. He quavered for dramatic effect. I'm too scared to face this new world of adulthood alone. Jessie lost her composure and began to giggle. Anyway, enough of that, Matt. She was cut off by a beam of blinding light. I agree, it's well past curfew, and I didn't see a problem with inspecting your vehicle. They turned to face the voice, hands shielding their eyes. Oh, officer! Jessie tried to squint through the blinding white to make out a face on top of the uniform. It's Pierce, Jessie. Sheriff Pierce. Matt tried not to spit his name. Pierce's focus switched. Oh, Matthias. Good to see you. Did you ever finish those 300 push-ups from the junior officer program? You gotta be kidding me. Yes, Joanna speaking. Pierce? Oh, what do you need? When he told me you needed to vent, I imagined a spot of glass in the desert that a few dope-smoking hippies would blame on a little green men. His accent amplified his frustration, and I didn't expect an exhibit, emphasis on the exhibition. The temperature of the room increased a few degrees as Joanna blushed. Yes, sir, I completely understand. Tonight, I just busted some kids, hopefully before they put everything on the internet. Yes, tonight. It won't happen again. But the line was already dead. Is your name really Matthias? Yeah, but I don't want to advertise I'm a yokel, so I prefer Matt. I think the sheriff will be back. Now, we probably just got unlucky with a random check. Pierce is insistently paranoid like that. Jessie's boots began clicking as she stepped over the transition over the transition from desert sand to glass. Despite her skepticism, she was captivated by the sculptures. She pointed out what was probably the first attempt of a flower, and traced the evolution of the presumed metahuman's experimentation and development. Wow, this form is getting impressive. I wonder how... Oh my. What's Matt choked in surprise. Whew, boy, that's something all right. Huh, this is a bit on the nose? Actually, by my estimation, the flower is on her... Matt flinched slightly as Jesse hit his arm. Real funny. I'm sure you'll make a great father with all your dad jokes. Still got it, he thought smugly. Jesse returned to the sculpture. The face is so lifelike. Do you think that story? Jesse trailed off, but Matt understood. He was about to reassure her when they noticed the rising temperature. So you've come to my garden. Would you like to join these lost souls in eternal repose? Joanna's swirling aura of superheated air combined with her projected voice, imbuing her speech with an otherworldly quality and disguising her identity. No, don't turn around. I can't turn you to salt, but I can come up with something equally horrifying. Matt was glad the rolling waves of heat gave him an excuse to sweat. Why don't we slowly circle around, to your right, and then you can leave the way you came. No problem, Matt called over his shoulder. We're just going to slowly walk away without looking at you, right, Jesse? He was frozen. Come on, Jess, just walk with me slowly. He whispered as he held her and followed Joanna's instructions. Curiosity got the better of him as he reached the edge of the garden, and he began to glance back. Joanna was prepared, however, and with a flaming lash struck the ground near Matt, renewing the ambient heat and his instinct for self-preservation. Joanna swept up in the chemical high that came from using her power, the same irrational thinking that had created the garden in the first place. Inspired by her choice of a whip, she shouted, "Fly, you fools!" She was roared with laughter. She roared with laughter at her own joke as Matt secured Jesse in his truck and escaped. Back in town, Matt pulled into a parking lot and killed the engine. In the silence, dimly lit by street lamps, they shared a wordless dialogue, but their communication was interrupted when Jessie cocked her head to the side and asked, "Wait, was the devil quoting Lord of the Rings?" They drew their first full breaths in an hour and they laughed themselves to exhaustion. Huh. That was good.
Huh.
Yeah. Is this supposed to be part of some kind of specific universe, or is it just... Yeah,
I don't follow some of the specific plot details, but I like your prose.
Yeah, and I think, like, if I'm following this correctly, it's a bunch of kids going out to see this sculpture, this like sculpture farm, basically, where someone with superpowers is making sculptures and, like, I guess people into things, and a cop catches them but doesn't stop them. And then, like, he calls Joanna to, I guess, scare them off then.
Insane oddball turns in Peppa Pig.
That was funky fresh.
I have to say, the dialogue in that show is extremely specifically written. So that'd be funny.
He meant turns into Peppa Pig. Okay. I can't tell if anyone's reading the story or reacting with this one. I'm both. He can't turn you into salt but pepper. Oh yeah, that's what it is. Peppa Pig. I like the spelling of R2D2 as R2 because that's how you would say it, and it makes it feel more like a name. That's a distinction because R2 is a nickname for R2D2.
Yeah.
That's a proper nickname as opposed to the proper designation of a rifle. Now, if you nicknamed your rifle BR, like, you could get away with that, but if it's a BR-55, like the designation of the rifle, and you called it a BR-55, like, that gets annoying.
Hold on. Ben says, yeah, once again, I had to cut a bunch of stuff. Send us the full version, like, just to read in our free time. Like, post it in server or something. I'd be interested to see that.
Yeah, I'd be intrigued. And if you need to send it through Twitter, I'll pass it on to Molly. She can read it for both of us. I'm kidding, of course.
Yeah.
Peppa Pig is a pretty good closed caption. The
cops. Oh, it was a closed caption.
But they snuck back. Oh, okay. So, yeah, Okay, that makes sense. The cop turned them away, but they snuck back. Got it. I did not pick up on that. All right, so the final one. There we go.
Oh, William. The man literally wrote Tiny Weiss and Mini Marn fanfiction.
This is either the best day or the worst day, and I can't really decide which. Okay, I need to clarify. Is snuck a word? Like snuck back?
I like that.
You cut out. What was that?
I'm not cutting out. I'm just like, where do I even begin with reading this? What's happening outside? Weiss, can you take this over to Marty, please? Winter slid a tiny plate of food across the table at Tiny Weiss, already turning back to her work when Tiny Weiss answered. Why can't she come get it herself? I guess I have to do voices. Why can't she come get it herself? Because it would be nice of you. Because it would be very helpful, or because I told you to. Winter cast a withering look. Take your pick. Tiny Weiss grumbled. Knowing that this was not a choice situation, taking up a plate of food, she hopped down off the table and began walking over to where Mini Marn sat by the river. She didn't react as Tiny Weiss approached, keeping her back squarely pointed at her sister. Hello, Tiny Weiss said in a formal tone. Winter said to bring you this. Mini Marn turned, revealing an unreadable expression with not so much as a twitch or a blink to break up the smooth mask of her face. Thank you, Mini Marn said, taking the plate. She barely looked at before putting it. I think that's a typo.
Yeah.
I don't know how judgy I'm going to be of this one. I guess looked at her before putting it aside and turning back to where she had been facing. Rude, Tiny Weiss huffed. I didn't have to bring you that, you know. Sorry, Mini Marn said. Want to finish this first. Tiny Weiss looked down at Mini Marn's lap, only now noticing the length of the bright pink cloth sitting in. She worked at it with a thin needle and thread, etching delicate patterns into the fabric. Tiny Weiss immediately recognized what it was. You're making a dress? Mini Marn shook her head. It's a combat skit. Well, I can't do her voice. I'm trying my best, though.
It's fine.
Tiny Weiss had been about to say something else, but promptly forgot what it was. After a brief pause, Tiny Weiss gave in to her curiosity. Can I see it? Mini Marn nodded, tying off a quick knot and holding the fabric up for Tiny Weiss to see. It was indeed a combat skirt, left open and flowing to allow the freedom of movement required for battle. Practical, but with a stylish flair. Intricate stitching and patterns of beads adorning the hem. Impressive work, especially having done this by hand. It's especially impressive because she has like little nubs for hands. So. You made this yourself? Tiny Weiss asked. Mini Marn shrugged. Not my best. Not your... Weiss started, looking at her in shock and surprise. Seriously? I missed a few stitches here and here. Mini Marn pointed to two spots that looked no different from the rest. And I want to reduce some of the beadwork. This fic on Tiny Weiss and Mini Marn is well timed. Oh, Tiny Weiss said. Well, you should use a different color then. Mini Marn looked at her, raising a questioning eyebrow in the first actual expression Tiny Weiss had ever seen her give. This one doesn't... Oh, this is Weiss talking. Those ones don't blend with the fabric. They need to be darker, for contrast. You think? I know, Tiny Weiss said with a sharp nod. You have to work with. Mini Marn produced a small plastic box and handed it to Tiny Weiss. It held hundreds of multicolored beads, each divided by shade in their own little cubbies. An entire rainbow of plastic and metal, plenty to work with. They'll do, Tiny Weiss said. Show me where you started. She settled down next to Mini Marn in the grass, and the two began to pick up over the garment, trading barbs and ideas in equal measure. They were so consumed by it that neither noticed Winter smiling at them from across the park. The end.
I like to imagine it's full-size Winter.
Yeah.
It's not like
if you've
Small
ever seen
Winter.
World of Final, have you ever seen Mini Mart is Velvet now? Apparently, I dig it. I was thinking about doing like a northern accent, but I didn't want to try that on stream when I have no practice with it. So she's not as Australian as Velvet. that was my try, but yeah, so if you've ever seen World of Final Fantasy, where like you have the two regular sized human characters and all the tiny little like big-headed Final Fantasy characters, that's how I picture this.
Exactly, I could totally see that. Wee Winter.
Yes, there's the tiny one. That fic got 3 likes for the stream. Thank you, Elliot.
That was super wholesome right there.
That was just good.
World of Final Fantasy is best as Final
Fantasy. The Mollie stuffed animals extended universe.
it's Mini Marn, Tiny Weiss, and all the hats.
All the hats.
They all have their own distinct personality.
All the hats are all characters. There.
But yes, that was the last submission for the day, at least as far as I'm aware. Let me see if Floof sent me anything.
I think Floof has a joke submission, but I don't know if I want to read it.
Floof sent it. He has... Yeah, no,
he sent it in our group chat. I'm taking a picture of this.
Floof, if you gotta submit things that are like done even faster, that like you got not done faster. Sorry, you just gotta do it the week before, man. Also, oh my God,
yeah, we give 2 weeks now.
So, dude, what is with this format?
All right, next prompt.
Well, no, next I think what we want to do this time is ask the audience, what would you like to see us write? Let's have another writing stream where me and Mollie write simultaneously.
Ooh. Yeah.
Because we haven't done that in a while, because we've been doing Phoenix.
We haven't, and it was fun last time, and I need to put more stuff on my AO3 account. I need to prove to people that I know how to write, sort of.
Yes, I'm tempted to suggest for the next prompt, I'm afraid everyone's reaction to do it. Share anime, guys. Share your ideas. You mustn't be afraid. Yes, share your ideas. But what would you guys like to see us write necessarily? Some, a short prompt of some.
Yeah, sort. But we also need to come up with next prompt. So I want to hear that too.
Yes. A WAF sequel where Bahamut, a World of Final Fantasy where Bahamut is finally a fish.
Yeah.
A battle of wits.
A battle of wits.
Ooh, I like that prompt.
I would lose. Spoiler alert, I would lose.
I would win, but only if it's sexual puns.
Grimdark. I like that. I am a fan of Grimdark, but...
And like that's a genre, not a prompt.
Yeah.
Make a story based on a sing from the bass form a song from the band Red.
Ooh, story with only a single character.
Okay.
That's interesting.
That's doable. I really like kind of introspective pieces like that.
Poetry? We did poetry. If I challenge you guys to write poetry, that'd be interesting.
We could challenge them to write a song. That'd be insane.
That would be insane.
Do you think we should do it?
I'd be interested to see.
Alright, so a battle of Smug, a Ruby Weiss fight. That's the highest tier with Raymond.
It's the highest tier of wit.
Oh, yeah, it is the highest tier of wit. Story with only a single toe. I mean, that's also doable, but weirdly specific.
A story with a single character. Yeah. And make just I can't write a song. I think writing poetry is an interesting challenge though, because like I know that a lot of you like the songwriting stream proved that it's not easy, but I think poetry just regularly instead of just like a song. I think we might have more leeway there. Look up poetry, read it, get a feel for it. I think because I saw a lot of struggles with descriptions.
Yeah, and it gives you a lot of practice kind of understanding grammar, weirdly enough, because like it becomes super important to how like the structure of the actual phrasing is.
Yeah. As for so I think I want that to be the prompt.
Okay, so poetry, the sub goal, like the bonus goal is write a song. Should we give them a topic?
Let's see. I love poetry, but I don't usually publish much of my poems because they're vintage. Don't write about yourself. Don't write poetry. Have to do it because that's people get stuck. Is they're like, I have to make it about.
Yeah, and she's cutting out.
Choose a character or a poem.
You cut out throughout. Like you're like, don't write poetry about yourself. And you froze.
Sorry. Okay. Don't write poetry about yourself. Write about a different character.
Let's.
Did that cut out?
Yeah, no. I'm trying to think of like a good example, like kind of limit them to give them a little bit of edge. I meant I know I can't come up with anything. My brain is a little bit fried.
Take a character that really spoke to you and kind of try to parse into, and this is a poem, so we're really talking under 300 words maybe. Not because I want it to be short, but because poetry is just short. Like that way.
Yeah, that
write something about them.
Yeah, so basically find a character that you like
really describes a scene.
Dig into who they are. Describe
a scene where
Mollie's suggestion is better than
whatever.
She's the poetry person.
Don't cut out.
Mollie's the poetry person, so like she supersedes me in this circumstance.
Yeah, like I'm trying to like parse this out into words. Write about a scene of a character that really spoke to you, and really try to grab the descriptive words. We're not looking for an epic. We're not looking for you to be William Blake here. We're looking for. I just want you guys to try it. There's a lot of different types of poetry. You could do freeform. You can make it verse where it's rhyming. You can make it verse where it's not rhyming. If somebody sends in a 1,500-word poem, I'll be impressed, but I will not read most of it.
And the thing, keep in mind, you're going to have an entire month to get this done because it's going to be next week is Phoenix Write, then it's going to be our writing stream, then it's going to be Phoenix Write again, then it'll be this. So you guys
I think we should do 2 off and then 1 on.
How so? What do you mean?
Like 2 not writing, 1 writing.
So 2 Phoenix Write
or 2 not. No, like do Ace Attorney, do us writing, then them writing.
Okay, so you guys will have 3 weeks to get this done. Okay, and trust me, with some poems, it feels like you need that time.
Yeah, Molly, you have a rhyming resource, right? Yeah, I use Rhyme Zone. It's nothing fancy, but it does give you advanced rhymes, which is helpful. It'll tell you the meter of a word, which is really useful. The syllable breakdown. Match your syllables if you're going to use verse. I'm going to be watching for that.
So for the prompt.
As for next week.
Yes,
That's for next week. The prompt.
Well, we have Battle
writing
of
about
Wits,
a single character.
We have Battle of Wits, solitary character. Urban Explorer was popped up by Mupa.
Mupa, yeah.
Which was part of the solitary character one, but I like that enough that I want it to be like I kind of want it to be its own option. We can come back to it if we want to combine the two.
Yeah. All right. A poem on Mollie's connection. Don't do that. Guys, I try my best here. I can't do anything about my internet connection.
Yes, I saw it, Mupa. I saw it. Important thing to try anime guy. It's the best way to learn. Mollie of a rhyming the cries. Takes it 3 days to write a sonnet. Trust me, it took me so long to write some poems, man.
You have no idea how long it takes me to write a song sometimes.
Like, Mollie is incredible in that, like, sometimes, like, this week she wrote, like, 4 songs in the span of a day or something like that. It was something crazy. But then, like...
In the span of, like, a week, yeah.
But then, like, sometimes, that took her, like, 2 or 3 weeks of writing block. So, like, that's the trade-off. Sometimes you get these bursts of creative energy, and then sometimes you just don't.
Something that helps me... This is a very specific Mollie thing. But what helps me write is if I'm listening to a sports broadcast... Or when you're just listening to, I think it's just because I'm listening to a lot of words at once. You have all those words processing through your brain, and it might give you ideas for sentences.
Anime AK wants us to write his bounty hunter character, which I'm actually not against that.
I don't know who he is.
Well, no, that's the thing is like I think just a bounty hunter character would be an interesting take on things.
It would be. I said, does this have to be? Crappy internet connection is a protected characteristic.
So the 4 options we have.
Are we writing for a?
What?
Are we writing for a fandom?
Me and you or them?
Me and you.
Not in particular.
Okay.
I imagine we'll ask chat when we get down to the actual topic.
Yeah.
But that said, I'm gonna put the vote on Twitter. I will give you guys the link. Get the link. Copy. Cut. Here is the link, guys. Please go click that. Check out that. Vote. I would love to see everyone's input on that. Oh, someone messaged me on the... Oh, I froze Mollie. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to do that to you. Someone messaged me on here. Who messaged me? Okay, it was Poncho. Okay, just making sure that one was fine. But yes, thank you all so much for joining us. We've had a lot of fun here. I hope you all enjoyed yourselves. There were some real bangers this week. A lot of creative.
There was some bangers.
There were some bangers. Now, next week is Phoenix Wright. Hopefully we can get Fat Man again. We can have fun with that. The week after that, me and Mollie write. The week after that, you guys give us poems. Everyone has their submissions. I can't wait to see what everyone produces. And I think that's it. Ready to call it?
Yep.
All right. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll catch you all on the flip side.
Bye.